Alright, let's see how this works. This might work perfectly, or this might work horribly. Guess we'll just see as it devolves. And also see what happens if I close off this. I'm still at the point where I have to preserve energy, because I haven't gotten my dummy battery yet. Let's see how the sound is. Close off this. And then we wait a little bit. See. We wait a little bit. Pretty decent. I mean, the wind is horrible though. Can you hear it? Wow. Wait a little bit. Pretty decent. I mean, the wind is horrible though. Can you hear it? Alright, so you can hear the wind, but it's not insane. Which is cool. Okay, we have a few things here. I have ongoing conversations that has a lot going on at the same time, which is cool. But yesterday I also tried to put on this intermission screen, blur out the image, you know, just do some tweaks on the lens, and all of a sudden the stream just turned off, so I'm not going to do that. But we're going to talk about a few things in terms of Terrence Howard and the recent bombshells that has been dropped in the world, and a few things that is coming up, and also just talk. Simply just talk about the things that we talk about in the Legacy Forge. To elevate the frequency a little bit, to think a little bit expansive, and just to identify limiting beliefs, or bullshit, or BS, or belief systems, whatever you want to call it. I've had a lot of conversations lately that has given me a lot of insight into how many people do not understand what is being said, even though it is being said step by step in the smallest increments that you can possibly imagine. Like, to explain something so detailed and child friendly that one should assume that it is impossible not to get the point. And I think it's worthy of discussion, because it's been happening so many times that it doesn't make sense. Wow, it's actually pollen. That's what it is. Pollen and road dust. So technically I should be kind of sniffling, I should be all constipated, congested, probably not constipated, but I should have all these effects because, you know, I'm supposed to be allergic to all the things that is flying around the air right now. All of the tree sperm, as it were. Should be putting me on my ass, but why isn't it? Makes you wonder, but I'm gonna talk about that in a little bit. So I'm gonna be back. I have to listen to this in private, and there's not that many people listening right now, so be back in a minute. 2 minutes.
Okay, quick voice note. Yeah, I want you to feel into your gut, because yesterday you were like premium, when I was talking about investment, like, it actually feels really freaking good. And for me, it does let me know what you think. I'm gonna just feel into the price. I've got a few things to do this morning, but yeah, I'll be in and out. So yeah, just let me know what. Yeah, by the way. Next level. Next level.
I'm live right now. It happened again. I'm trying something out. So actually, I'm still in the conversation that we started off just a few minutes ago. Yeah, I agree in everything that you say. Something's told me that it was getting to a place where the structure is so tangible right now. So it felt like the container. You know, it really starts to feel like the antechamber. And then my mind always goes to the place where, well, this is gonna change their lives. Let's do it for free. No, I agree. Let's, we have to put something on it, and yeah. For me, it's anything between 22 and 22,000, kind of. That's how open-minded I am about this, because I know that the things that are going to come out now, especially after yesterday, with all the things that kind of, you know, reshaped how everything is. A lot of people will not have the insights for this, so it's going to radically shift everything that they believe, and that will change their life in a way that cannot really be communicated. And I believe we can say that with 100% certainty, because we have seen that happen. So yeah, actually, I'm gonna do something that I rarely do, which is probably why I haven't gone any further. Based on what you've felt so far, the experience that we've had so far, and what we are thinking about bringing to the table in the future, what do you think that this first initial taste should be worth? Yeah. Ha. We're talking about the antechamber. For those people who do not know what the antechamber is, it is that whole waiting room, the first interaction before you get into the forge. And it's huge because honestly it has shifted lives. Just by talking about the things we talk about, you can't really put it into words what it can do. And so while going through this, it's about finding the right components, right? To have that being done in a safe environment, and know that what we do is safe, that we're not, you know, accidentally killing people. Because I've seen people lose their shit so fucking hard by learning about these things, that if they're not held in the neck, almost, it's like you have to watch how much you say at one time, because if you give too much, they will get like, oh, that's the thing, now I have the answer, I'm going to go out and I'm going to implement that, I will rule the world. So they go out and they fuck up their world. They like completely, because they focus only on that new aspect instead of having that balance between the both, and or not even both, but all of it, holistically, fragmentally, gradually. There's no binary 1 or 0. There is no night and day. There is no, where does night and day begin? Where does it stop being cold and start being warm? You know, it's not a, we just went from 99, now we're at 0. Or now we're at the next thing. It's that whole flow that is all things at all times. There's no, not one box there, one box there, as we have been doing for fucking centuries and thousands of millennia. Isn't it time we stop doing that shit? But the thing is, with this information, when it is given willy-nilly, you know, when people are just bloating out everything as an absolute fact, then some people have a tendency to go into worship mode. And when they do that, they might go down a rabbit hole that was not intended for them. That just made everything worse. Now granted, when things go worse and you have that learning experience of things going to shit and you feel that in your body and you're like, okay, shit, I'm going to have to do something about this or I'm not going to make it. Then you do something about it. If you don't, well, that's kind of on you, right? But my point is that if you are dropped into this too harsh and you don't have the necessary prerequisites or the foundation to act from, it might not be the whole transformational value that you sought. It might be the worst thing that you've ever seen in your life. Which can also, of course, paradoxically be the best thing that ever happened in your life, because the core, we talked about this yesterday in a lot of instances. The core wounds, the darkness, the shadows, the storms, whatever we go through in the earlier stages of life, whatever degree of intensity we can face the bad of life, the better we are to navigate the contrast of that. You know, because in most cases it is literally about, okay, I feel this, I should probably do the opposite. If I don't have this, then I should probably start doing that instead of continuing to do this. And it's so weird to talk about these things because it's so connected to all things. That's why we need an antechamber. That's why we need a waiting room. I see that the wind is about to hit me in the face with a small force. So let's see if the camera is actually able to stay upright when this happens. Oh, that was weird. That was weird. I was looking at a wave of wind coming at me. And it just everything around me came into my depth of field. You know, you see the furthest trees and you see them just starting to sway a whole bunch. There's one having issues standing upright. And all these other trees just do the same thing, and you kind of expect that, oh shit, this is going to hit me. And then it just stopped. That is so weird. Kind of reminds me of a DMT session I had once. I've had a intention of sharing that story, so I figured I'm going to share something now and try to keep these live streams kind of short, but also try to deliver some kind of value that has some context that can add to either clarity or just show that there is something more for those people searching for it, or just going into some sort of a topic that people have questions about but they can't really get answered. And I feel like the DMT awakening or reawakening or rebirth is definitely one of those. So I will do one thing. I will go back, I will prepare, and then I'll come back. And then when I do, I will share a story with you. Test. We had some cards flying. All right. So now I'm also testing the whole capacity of this camera. All right, there we go. I've never shared this story as a standalone, which is going to be interesting because it became more and more transformational the more time that passed, the more I shared it, the more I thought about it, the more I started to feel the effects of it. Things shifted more and more and more, and that was really interesting. So it started, let's see, almost fucked up. There we go. Now I should have connected my dummy system. The whole thing started in year past 23 on a mountain in Norway, on the normal ceremony mountain that we use, right? And this was in, I believe it was in the beginning season, so we were expecting to find medicine, but we didn't. On this journey I had done many things that I have documented, but I haven't really shown the footage of because there is no point yet. But I documented several metaphysical conversations. Not really several, but I was talking to a person telepathically is the easiest way to say this, and I have caught it on tape, the fact that it happened. So it was all leading up to the fact that I had to leave the house. I had to leave the cabin after having taken the medicine to go and pick someone up who was supposed to come to this cabin, but who was traveling far. Like, they traveled for hours to get to the location. Now the location is barred, like it's sealed off. It is in the middle of nowhere. There is no cell reception. It's a far way, it's a big journey. It's a long journey to climb the mountain. And even if you know where it is, it's gonna be challenging. So I was sitting there and I was thinking, I need to save this person coming down to the cabin. Somehow I need to figure out how to get him up here. And I was picturing, coming down the next day and seeing him dead in the ditch or somewhere, because he said that he was bringing props. He was bringing didgeridoos and he was bringing all these things. So I was thinking, shit, this is not going to work. So the conclusion became, I got into my car and I drove down the mountain, and I have recorded this. I'm just going to wait a little bit. As I drove down, I tried to document as much as I could. It was not an easy task, but it went remarkably well, seeing the footage that I have on my computer now. So we came back up, now we were 4, and we got to know each other. This was the first time we've ever met in person, this shaman and me, who came down to the TTX, or the tribe experience. It was the first time I had opened it up like that as well, because normally it's just a very secluded, secretive invite, right? So you just get from 10,000 people, maybe 1 or 2 people will actually join the thing, and those people usually see what's being written. So it's been a very interesting and hidden experience. This time was the first time that I actually opened it up more than I had before. So he came, and there we were, now 4 people, originally 2, in this cabin. One of them had gone out to bed. Like, I haven't really analyzed that part of why he was in bed. But he came back down and we started to get to know each other, all 4 of us. Played some guitar, had an awesome time, talked about the area, enjoyed the time, just chilled. Then came dawn. As the sun was coming over the mountain, we figured we were going to do an extra deep journey. And I don't know about you, but DMT, or is it dimethyltryptamine? I'm not sure. I'm not going to go into try to explain the chemical composition of this or anything. DMT is very special because you have that in your body. You produce that naturally. And I believe it is the pineal gland is creating melatonin. The melatonin is then transmuted into DMT or something. So don't quote me on that. But when you die and when you sleep, you're creating these minuscule amounts of DMT. And people with near-death experiences and all that stuff has also experienced similar experiences to that of which you get on the DMT. But it has a very interesting and specific way of activating. So I don't know if you have any experience in, let's say, mushrooms, but it's a very interesting process when you get into the peak and when you start to feel the medicine and the effects, and you start to feel these physical things. And I think it's very individual for every person. For me, I feel like my tongue is tasting like metal, and sometimes I feel like this weird heaviness while being uplifted, and there is this very specific popping for me. As it's like when you hold your nose and you blow, you pop your ears. It's kind of like that, but only many, many, many times. It's like everything is open gradually as we go up. And it's very distinct. So going into explaining a come up or an activation, it's something that can be done if you just take time, right? But with DMT is very different, because there it's like I hear it first. I hear the metallic frequencies of this different realm, and then it comes on different. And I don't know if that's because it's not natural. It is natural, but this is synthetic, right? Most people have synthetic DMT, so it is very much like LSD, where you just get this almost binary switch. It's like now you're off it, now you're on it, and you're going to be on it for 48 hours, bitch. You know, for me it was very too much. It just kept you there. DMT is kind of the same, but it's very much shorter. So on this occasion, I didn't like how it was administered, for once, or for number one. Because it was very, like, I would almost say disrespectful. It wasn't planned, so, you know, we can put some of the blame on that. But for such a journey, I feel like you should have it should be respected. There should be a full a full facilitation and delivery of the substance, and all the things should be just on point. And this was, in many ways, it felt like a rushed thing, because it was not right set, although the right setting was, to be honest, it was the right set and setting, but it was not meant for a DMT journey, so it could have been different. But as I took the first hit, I held my breath and I got down, I laid down on my back, and I felt the sensation of being dissolved and floating while hearing this frequency. But I didn't hear it as much as I did the 2 prior times. First time I didn't really feel anything because I didn't know what to expect. And I put expectations on the experience, which limited my experience. The second time I had more of a visual, a sense of a visual, where I saw this giant white eagle flying ahead of a snowstorm, like a blizzard, a huge wall of a snow blizzard. And everything around it, in front of it, was just ice. You know, that snowy, hard layer of ice, where everything of the natural landscape is just white. Everything is covered. It's kind of a dream landscape, but as this eagle descended, it let its claw hit the top of the ice on the ground. And like a boat, it just opened it up, right? You know, when a boat goes through the river or the water, you see the waves just parting. That was kind of what happened in the vision, and underneath it was just growth and green and summer and just life. And the visual in itself was kind of epic, but I couldn't really picture the effects it would have on me later. It's like seeing it almost doesn't make sense how it affected me. But it expanded something. And when I got into this session, or this journey, when I was lying down on the couch, I didn't see the visual, but I saw this green aurora borealis energy cloud just vibrating over me. It was like I saw this green aura, and I could hear it, and the frequency was right. It was mathematically aligned, it was pure. And so I started to cry. Like I just laid there and enjoyed this sensation of just rightness, that I was at the frequency that I had been working towards. And it was kind of profound. Even though I was just lying there not doing anything, it was really profound. And I was listening to this song, Svitjord by Forndom, which is a fiddle build-up, a tuggle harp. I'm not sure how you say that in English, but it's like this old instrument they used back in the day that has a very specific sound, and it's building upon it. So I had this as the backdrop to this session, this journey. And when it was done, I opened my eyes, and it lasts for about 7 minutes, right? The song, that is. Damn, the wind is just not giving up, and I'm gonna get back to that. So I came out of it. I slowly opened my eyes, and it was very much like a forced meditative state, if you know. Like I was just completely relaxed, at peace. That doesn't mean that it's like that for everyone, because right before this, the other participant did the same thing, and he went through hell because he was not aligned with himself. Like when you have shit to uncover, when you have still layers of the onion, and I think that you always will have layers of the onion, but if you haven't started to kind of go through those layers, you'll have a lot at once, and that could end up in what we would call a learning experience, or a quote-unquote bad trip. But I came out of this, opened my eyes, and looked at this shaman. And he was already ready with number 2. Right? He was standing like this, with the pipe, just inviting me to do a second journey. I had never done that before, so it was on top of this first one, which kind of became the primer. And I figured, you know what? Alright. I didn't get to a point where I felt like I had to purge. I didn't go as deep as I know I could. But this could actually get me deep. And so I did. I took the hit. It was really challenging to get into because I was still kind of multidimensional. I was still trying to operate my body from different aspects of reality. And I know that sounds weird, but if you haven't had the experience, there's no explanation that could fit what you want to hear, because for those who've had the experience, no explanation is necessary, but for those who have not, none is possible, right? But I was trying to operate my body, and I managed to get it in. And this time I didn't lay down. I was just sitting there with my hands over my knees and just meditating. And then I felt like I could go deep. I simply said, I have to purge. I think I can purge. And the panic of this man, as he was trying to find a bucket or something in this completely unknown cabin, or a bag, or whatever he could use as a container for my puke that was very imminently gonna be sprayed out of my mouth, he completely flipped out. And then when he saw that I can't find any buckets or containers, he just took the whole table and just dragged it out, making me space to do my thing. But I'm a very tidy person. I have it might not look like it because my office is a mess most of the time, and you know, I can wait with the dishes for a long time until I do them. But in this case, like, I was not in my house. I didn't want to have extra work of cleaning this up, so I said, support me, take my hand. And there was an eagle. That was not part of the story. The eagle was just flying. But I said, take my hand and guide me outside, and take the speaker with you. And so he did. And when we got outside, there's this porch that overlooks this large area, which in this season is very magical. And this natural mound with a fireplace in the middle, and this fire hut that has held a lot of magic in the past. And so I was looking at this, trying to get back to center so I could go back into finding that thing that felt like it had to be purged. Because at this point I had got up for the couch, or raised myself from the couch and gone out on the porch. So the whole process that was starting in the couch had kind of gone away again. But I leaned over the railing with this wooden top, and I just felt the fibers of the tree. And then I started to feel this thing again. And I reached down, and it was like I was just wringing every single cell in my body to just get everything out from my core, right? And as I was trying to get this out, just freaking contracting everything in my body, he was behind me as a metaphysical midwife, doing energy work and frequencies on my back, guiding this up. And I'm not sure how to explain that, but it was an experience. So it came to the top, and I was able to get some out. It was just remnants of something. It was just a tiny amount. And when it got released, I felt like I had this blockage in my throat. And so he said, shout, scream, roar. You know, get it out, get primal. And I felt this. I closed my eyes, and I was feeling the top of the railing, and just feeling the fibers and the wood and the tree and feeling like I was part of everything. And this is in a tree hut, by the way. So I can feel the wind I can feel the wind through the trees that the hut is built in. And then I shout. I roar. But I felt like there was something that was missing. So I went in again. And I roared. I just shouted over this huge space. And then I opened my eyes and I saw this code. And this is, some people will recognize this, I think. It's like seeing the Matrix. You're seeing the backbone of the universe. Like the back end. And it was like I saw how these equations were very localized around me. They were different around me than they were in the distance. And when I saw them closer, it was like the trees that was blowing had a different frequency. And I could very clearly see this all over. And it was blowing. Like it was really windy that day. But all of a sudden, in this process, the wind kind of stopped all over. The entire area got calm. Apart from the trees of which we were standing in. Like only around the house was the wind blowing. It was like an extremely local storm. And I couldn't really make sense of it. But I saw it clearly. Like it was, yeah, of course. The math checks out. So as I was doing this, I closed my eyes again. And this time I was speaking to something. Like, are you ready? And I'm not sure if the shaman thought that I was talking to him, but it was so much more. It was everything, you know, the unity. And what I was asking for, like, are you ready? Was so much more than I probably could conceive of in the moment. But as I was building up, the song was reaching its end. And the special thing about this song is that it just stops with a boom, right? So it builds up until it stops and abruptly just finished. At this moment of the song stopping and the wind just taking up in power and me standing there feeling this energy and just kind of preparing to release, everything stopped. And I shouted for the third time a primal roar that came from the core of my being. And then I opened my eyes. Everything was normal, but a lot clearer. And I look at the shaman and I say, thank you. Or hi. Or something that was very significant for me, because I was like, I am not the same person I was just an hour ago, or 10,000 years ago, or wherever I came from just now. That opened my perspective to a lot of things when it comes to the math of the universe. And how this energy works, you know, off and on plant medicine. Because I've always said that plant medicine is just a window. It's just the opener to something greater that you can also achieve without the plant medicine. But it's because of the stigma and the labels that we have completely just shoved that away. And as I mentioned before, put it into the box instead of seeing the gradients between the things around it. And after that, seeing the whole... Not even seeing, because, you know, you can see the source code and the equations when you're in that space. But afterwards, you just feel it. Afterwards, it's like, I see you, right? And everything feels different, deeper, aligned or misaligned, in polarity or without. It's so weird. Things just make sense in terms of how you feel, how you act, how you respond. What you see and what you create and what the things are that comes from that. It's like you're seeing the full deck of cards and you know what's coming after the next. And I don't know how else to explain that. But yesterday I saw this freaking fantastic interview on Joe Rogan with Terrence Howard that kind of gave me one of those shit moments that you get in those experiences. Those elevation moments where you get a clue, a something that just bridges a gap. It connects a few neurons, and all of a sudden you see things differently. And in this case, he shared how he had proven that everything that we have been trying to figure out about the universe is wrong. Like, there's no wonder the math doesn't check out, because we're always trying to figure out new ways of explaining the same problem, because it doesn't add up. So we have to add something on the end of that rabbit hole to make it make sense. You know? To just support the fact that we might have fucked up in the beginning. But not admitting the fact that we fucked up a little bit in the beginning, but just continuing the same path. Yeah, I know, that kind of felt out of context, but he was talking about the full unity, where you take into account the ether, like the negative space, and how with this, everything shifts, and it is infinitely scalable, and it changes everything in terms of energy, and everything in terms of how we operate in the world and the universe and the cosmos and whatever all of this is. With simplicity. Simplicity being very, like, relative, because I think that once you start to get these new insights that you could get through a DMT experience or deep meditations or trauma or whatever, after these life-changing shifts, there is a few to be had until you see the fullness of the picture. And then until then, it's just enjoying the ride, enjoying the journey, and just know that, holy shit, there are so many things that can be experienced, so many things that can be learned and understood. And so it's just not having to rush any part of it. It really brings you to the center, to now. And I think that's pretty profound, because if people just live now, instead of basing their future on the past, or whatever, fearing the future, being stuck in the past, like just being now. There's a power there that is impossible to comprehend, because like everything that we do has a reaction if we choose it to. Or it does, regardless, but it's like, what do you want to do? What do you want to have? And with this simplicity equation, you can do those things without being kept back by fear, or what other people would think, or anxiety, or depression, or being overwhelmed by negative emotions, or feeling stuck, or whatever the case may be. Because it goes into so many things that it's just mind-boggling. So many things happen in the span of 24 hours that I'm kind of baffled. Also, this was really interesting. Joe Rogan and Terrence Howard tried to put up some visual aids on the computer in the episode, right? And every time he tried, the technology just... And that was really interesting, because that tends to happen when you talk about things that might change the entire reality of the world. Like if you're going against industries, if you're combating the status quo, if you're asking critical questions, all these things they don't want to get out there, right? So today it's really easy to put in some keywords and just if this then that to make sure that those things are limited. And it was just so freaking evident yesterday. Like if you have a prominent figure like Terrence Howard, who is an Oscar-nominated actor, who have also just solved the whole thing about the universe, but that hasn't been mentioned at all. You know, it's interesting. It's really interesting. And then seeing the companies and the stuff that is tied to that has the power to keep the truth from the people who needs to see it. From the world that needs to see it. Because right now, just case in point, this video, this live stream, right now, as this is live, there are no people who has come in during the live stream at all. And this was announced to everybody in a group of 200 people. But when you're doing a spontaneous, different stream that you just don't even mention, then all of a sudden you have like 10 to 15 people live, and then the views just goes up. But if the topic is irrelevant, it's interesting. Makes you wonder. Now it seems like I have someone who's coming to visit me. It will be very noisy. But I will see you very soon, I think. That was a blue tractor. It was not the red one that I was anticipating. But I think that I'm going to stop the stream here and get ready for the antechamber session later tonight. And just see what gets created this week. Because I'm trying new things. Sitting here in this office, it works quite well. So I look forward to see how this works in the future. Because I'm going to travel to places that is not normal to see. I have an adventure. I look forward to it. But with that said, may you have a fantastic day. And I will see you in the next one. If you haven't already, go into the Legacy Forge, create a free account, whatever you want to do, and then subscribe to this channel if you like what we're talking about. Because, as you might know, the algorithm is not on the side of favor when it comes to these topics. So the more you share, the more you actually show that you care about this, to get this out into the world, to get people more enlightened on how to become leaders in their own life. Oh, that was a burp. My body attacked me. How to become leaders in their own life and try to think critically and see that they are limitless. The more you share that, the better. The more support we get in terms of sharing and just getting into the communities where we talk about these things without being censored and without being limited, without being monitored, without all those things, the better. So I look forward to seeing you inside of the Legacy Forge. You can get into the Discord channel through thelegacyforge.com/discord, but we're also structuring that to make sure that we are not overwhelming people when they come in. It's all dependent on your action and your interaction and your engagement. That's it. But I love your face. Hope to see you soon. Now I have to wait until I know that I'm done talking on the stream, and then I can click end the stream. Your interaction and your engagement. That's it. But I love your face. See you soon. Now I have to wait.